I'll make you pay. Total chaos. Seth Rollins attacks Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Where the hell has Seth Rollins been? The so-called revolutionary, the visionary, the man who claims he built Monday Night Raw with his bare hands, has been sitting on the sidelines while the Vision has been systematically destroying everyone on the roster, including his supposed friend CM Punk. And now after weeks of doing absolutely nothing, Seth decides to show up and attack Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed like he's some kind of hero. Are you kidding me right now? Seth Rollins screaming, "I'll make you pay," is rich coming from someone who's been conspicuously absent during the most important conflict on Raw. Where was this energy 2 weeks ago when Punk was getting beaten down by the Vision? Where was this fire when Logan Paul betrayed Punk? Where was this visionary when Paul Heyman was orchestrating the complete takeover of Monday Night Raw? I am furious. Not because Seth attacked the Vision, they absolutely deserve to get their asses kicked, but because Seth's timing is convenient, his motivations are unclear, and his sudden appearance feels less like a heroic rescue and more like a guy jumping on a moving train after everyone else already paid the fare. Drop in the comments right now, is Seth Rollins a hero for finally taking action, or is he a coward who only showed up when it was safe? Because I have thoughts and none of them are positive. Monday Night Raw descended into total chaos when Seth Rollins, who hasn't been seen in weeks, suddenly reappeared and launched a vicious assault on two of the Vision's most dangerous members. But the question nobody is asking but everyone should be is, why now? What changed? And where does Seth get off acting like a savior when he abandoned Raw during its darkest hour? Let me break down exactly what happened, because Seth's attack on Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed was explosive, brutal, and raises more questions than it answers about his motivations, his allegiances, and his timing. Question for the Seth Rollins fans: can you defend his absence during the Vision's rise to power, or was he wrong to stay away? I need to hear the other side. The segment started with Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed in the ring, cutting a promo about the Vision's dominance. They were doing the typical heel faction celebration, talking about how they've destroyed CM Punk, how they've got Logan Paul on their side, how Paul Heyman's genius has made them unstoppable, all that standard wrestling villain stuff. The crowd was booing them, but honestly, they weren't wrong about anything they were saying. Breakker specifically called out the entire Raw locker room, challenging anyone to step up and try to stop the Vision. He said everyone in the back is either too scared or too smart to get involved, and that Raw now belongs to them by default because nobody has the guts to fight back. And you know what? He had a point. Where has everyone been? Reed backed him up, talking about how they physically dismantled every challenger, and that the Vision isn't just a faction, it's the new order of Monday Night Raw. Classic monster heel talk, and both guys were delivering it perfectly. They looked dominant, confident, and untouchable. The kind of heels you want to see get destroyed. And that's when Seth's music hit. The arena erupted. People were on their feet because finally someone with legitimate main event credibility was showing up to challenge the Vision. Seth Rollins, former WWE champion, former Universal champion, one of the most accomplished wrestlers in modern WWE, was back. But here's what I noticed immediately: Seth didn't look like a hero coming to save the day. He looked angry. He looked unhinged. He looked like someone who had a personal vendetta, not someone defending Raw out of the goodness of his heart. Question: what's your read on Seth's facial expression and body language during his entrance? Heroic or selfish? Drop your interpretation. Seth stormed down the ramp, not his usual theatrical entrance, just pure aggression, and slid into the ring like a man possessed. Breakker and Reed didn't back down, which I respect. They stood their ground, ready for a fight. And boy did they get one. Seth immediately went after Breakker with a flurry of strikes. No feeling out process, no psychology, just rage. He hit Breakker with everything: punches, kicks, forearms, just absolutely unloading on him. Reed tried to intervene, but Seth was like a man fighting for his life. He ducked Reed's attack and hit him with a super kick that stunned the big man. The crowd was going insane. This was the chaos they'd been waiting for. This was someone finally standing up to the Vision's bullies. But something felt off about the whole thing, and I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Seth grabbed a chair from ringside, classic Seth Rollins' weapon of choice, and the referee was screaming at him to put it down, but Seth wasn't hearing any of it. He was in full burn it down mode, and nothing was going to stop him. He cracked Breakker across the back with the chair. The sound echoed through the arena. Reed tried to grab Seth from behind, but Seth spun around and hit Reed in the gut, then across the back. Both Vision members were down, and Seth was standing tall with the chair, breathing heavily, looking deranged. Let me ask you, was the chair use justified given what the Vision has done, or did it make Seth look desperate? Sound off below. And then this is the part that made me question everything. Seth grabbed a microphone. He stood over Breakker and Reed's fallen bodies and screamed, "You want to know where I've been? I've been watching. I've been waiting for the right moment. And that moment is now. You think you can take over my show? You think you can destroy everything I built? I'll make you pay. Every single one of you. Paul Heyman, Logan Paul, GUSO, and especially you two. Wait. My show." Seth just said my show. Not our show, not Raw, but my show. That's not hero dialogue, that's territorial dialogue. That's someone who's upset that his position is being threatened, not someone who's defending the greater good. The crowd was still cheering because they were caught up in the moment, but I'm sitting here analyzing every word and realizing Seth's motivations might not be as pure as they initially seemed. He's not fighting the Vision because they're evil, he's fighting them because they're threatening his spot. This is critical. Is Seth Rollins fighting the Vision for the right reasons, or is this just about his ego? Give me your honest assessment in the comments. Security and referees flooded the ring to separate everyone, but Seth wasn't done. He broke free and dove at Reed again, hitting him with more chair shots. Breaker was trying to get up, and Seth kicked him square in the face. This wasn't a measured assault, this was a man unhinged. Paul Heyman appeared on the Titantron because of course he did, with that smug expression on his face. He started slow clapping, which was infuriating but also perfectly in character. Heyman said something like, "Seth Rollins, the prodigal son returns. How convenient that you show up now, after the Vision has done all the hard work of exposing Raw's weaknesses. Tell me, Seth, where were you when your friend CM Punk needed you? Where were you when we were systematically taking control? You were hiding, and now you want to play hero? Pathetic." Damn. Heyman with the truth bomb. And the worst part? He's absolutely right. Seth was absent when Punk needed help. He was nowhere to be found during the Vision's rise. So what gives him the right to show up now and act like the savior of Raw? Seth's response was to flip off the Titantron, very mature, Seth, and scream that he's coming for everyone in the Vision, starting with Breaker and Reed, and ending with Paul Heyman himself. He promised that he's going to burn the Vision to the ground and restore order to Monday Night Raw. Again, notice the language, restore order. Not help my friends, not protect the roster, but restore order, as if Raw under Seth's control was the natural state of things and the Vision disrupted his kingdom. Question: is Seth Rollins' ego his greatest strength or his greatest weakness? This is important for understanding his character. The segment ended with Seth standing tall in the ring, Breaker and Reed being helped to the back by security, and Heyman's face on the screen with a look that said, "This is going to be fun." And honestly, as much as I questioned Seth's motivations, that final image was compelling television. But let's talk about what this means for the larger storyline, because Seth's arrival changes everything about the power dynamics on Monday Night Raw. First, where does this leave CM Punk? Punk has been the guy fighting the Vision, taking the beatings, suffering the betrayals. And now Seth shows up and is basically saying, "I'll handle this." How does Punk feel about that? Does he appreciate the backup or resent Seth for swooping in late? The potential tension between Punk and Seth could be fascinating. Both men are legendary performers, both have massive egos, both think they know the right way to handle things. If they're forced to work together against the Vision, the friction between them might be as compelling as the actual conflict with the faction. Should CM Punk trust Seth Rollins as an ally, or should he be suspicious of Seth's timing and motivations? Give me your take. Second, what's Seth's actual plan? He says he's going to make the Vision pay, but how? Does he have a strategy, or is he just going to keep attacking people with chairs? Because the Vision has numbers, they have Paul Heyman's strategic mind, and they've proven they can absorb punishment and keep coming. Seth fighting them alone is suicide, but Seth teaming up with others requires trust, which has never been Seth's strong suit. Remember, this is the man who betrayed the Shield, who's turned on partners multiple times throughout his career, who has a well-documented history of putting himself first. Third, how does the Vision respond to this? Do they target Seth immediately? Do they wait and strategize? Does Paul Heyman try to manipulate Seth like he's manipulated everyone else? Because if there's one thing Heyman is good at, it's finding people's weaknesses and exploiting them, and Seth's biggest weakness is his ego. Imagine Heyman offering Seth a spot in the Vision not as a member, but as the leader, usurping Paul Heyman's position. Would Seth be tempted? Would his ego override his supposed loyalty to Raw? That would be a fascinating mind game. Prediction question: will Seth Rollins stay a babyface throughout this feud, or will his ego cause him to do something that turns the audience against him? I'm betting on the latter. Let's also address the timing of Seth's return because it's suspicious. He's been gone for weeks, supposedly dealing with an injury or personal issues or whatever excuse WWE gave. But he looked fine in that attack. He was moving well, hitting his spots, showing no signs of ring rust or physical limitation. So if he could have been there all along, why wasn't he? The only logical explanation is that Seth was waiting for the perfect moment to make an impact, waiting for the story to develop to a point where his return would mean maximum attention, waiting for his moment rather than being just another soldier in the fight. That's pure ego. That's Seth putting his brand and his moment above the well-being of his colleagues and the show itself. And if WWE doesn't address that in the storyline, they're missing a huge opportunity for character complexity. Was Seth Rollins selfish for waiting to return until he could make a big impact, or is that smart strategy? I want both perspectives in the comments. The Raw locker room's reaction to Seth's return will be telling. Do they celebrate having a heavy hitter back to help fight the Vision? Or do they resent him for abandoning them when things got tough? Because if I were a mid-card wrestler who's been showing up every week while Seth was AWOL, I'd be pissed that he gets to waltz back in and play hero. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed both looked strong even in defeat, which is important. They took chair shots and kept trying to fight back. They didn't cower or run away. That maintains their credibility as legitimate threats even though Seth got the better of them this time. And that's crucial because if the Vision members start looking weak, the entire faction loses its menace. They need to be portrayed as dangerous opponents who can absorb punishment but remain threatening. This segment did that effectively. Question: who looked stronger in this segment, Seth Rollins for the attack, or Breakker/Reed for taking it and staying defiant? Character perception matters. The chair shots specifically are interesting from a character standpoint. Seth has a history with chairs. Remember when he used a chair to turn on the Shield? Remember his authority days when he'd use weapons regularly? Seth going back to the chair suggests he's tapping into that darker version of himself, which could be foreshadowing. Is Seth going to be able to fight the Vision without becoming just like them? That's a classic wrestling story, the hero who has to embrace their dark side to defeat evil, but risks losing themselves in the process. If WWE leans into that psychological struggle, this could be phenomenal storytelling. Social media exploded after this segment. Seth was trending worldwide, the Vision was trending, and everyone was debating whether Seth's return was heroic or selfish. That engagement is exactly what WWE wants, regardless of whether the sentiment is positive or negative. The mixed reactions to Seth's motivations are actually perfect because they create complexity. Wrestling is better when characters aren't simply good or bad but have layered motivations that audiences can debate. Seth being both a hero and an egomaniac is more interesting than him being just one or the other. Logan Paul hasn't responded to Seth's return yet, which is interesting. Logan and Seth have history, they've faced each other before, they've had confrontations, so Logan's reaction could add another layer to this already complex situation. Does Logan see Seth as a threat or an opportunity? Does Heyman want Seth taken out immediately, or does he want to try manipulating him first? These questions will shape where the storyline goes next. How should the Vision respond to Seth's attack? Immediate retaliation or strategic patience? Give me your booking ideas. The "I'll make you pay" line from Seth is now going to follow him throughout this feud. That's his promise, his declaration of intent. But promises in wrestling are only meaningful if they're kept. Seth needs to follow through on that threat or risk looking like all talk and no action. That means WWE needs to actually have Seth get revenge in meaningful ways. He needs victories, he needs moments of triumph, he needs to systematically take apart the Vision members just like they've taken apart everyone else. Otherwise, his big return will feel hollow. The contrast between Seth's approach and CM Punk's approach is also fascinating. Punk has been methodical, careful, trying to build alliances and think strategically. Seth just showed up and started swinging. Both approaches have merit, but they're diametrically opposed in philosophy. If and when these two have to work together, those different approaches will create friction. Punk will want to think things through, Seth will want to attack immediately. That tension could be the most compelling part of the entire storyline. Let's talk about the phrase "total chaos" because that's what this segment was. No rules, no structure, just pure violence. That's actually perfect for where Raw is right now. The Vision has destroyed order, so the response needs to be chaotic. But chaos can only last so long before it becomes tiresome. At some point, WWE needs to channel this energy into a structured conflict, matches, stipulations, stakes. The chaos is great for generating heat and excitement, but storytelling requires structure to be satisfying. What's the perfect match to settle Seth versus the Vision? Steel cage? Street fight? War games? Give me your ideal stipulation. Seth's visionary gimmick is also interesting in context of the Vision faction. Is that name similarity intentional? Is Seth going to claim that he's the real visionary and they're just pretenders? That verbal sparring could be electric. The philosophical debate between Seth's vision for Raw and Paul Heyman's vision could elevate this beyond just a physical feud into an ideological war. That's when wrestling becomes art, when it's not just about who wins but about what they're fighting for. My biggest concern is that WWE will drop the ball on Seth's character complexity and just make him a straightforward babyface hero. That would be wasting the potential of this character. Seth works best when he's morally ambiguous, when his motivations are selfish even when his actions benefit others. The best version of this storyline is Seth fighting the Vision for the wrong reasons, ego, control, pride, but still being the hero Raw needs. That contradiction is what makes characters memorable. Final question: do you want Seth Rollins to be a flawed hero or a traditional good guy in this storyline? Which is more interesting? Here's my ultimate take: Seth Rollins attacking Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed was explosive television that successfully generated massive buzz. But his motivations are questionable, his timing is convenient, and his character work is more complex than people realize. If WWE treats this as a simple hero returns to save the day story, they're missing an opportunity. But if they lean into Seth's ego, his complicated relationship with being a savior, and the potential friction with CM Punk, this could be one of the best storylines of the year. Seth screaming, "I'll make you pay," is either the beginning of an epic revenge story or empty words from someone who just wants attention. Time will tell which one it is, but I'm skeptical until proven otherwise. Let me know everything you're thinking in the comments. Are you excited about Seth's return? Do you trust his motivations? Should CM Punk welcome him as an ally or be cautious? Where do you see this storyline going? And if you made it this far, drop "burn it down" if you're Team Seth, or "too little too late" if you think his timing was selfish. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter for unfiltered wrestling analysis that asks the tough questions. Like this video if you appreciate someone questioning Seth's motivations instead of blindly celebrating. And share it because everyone needs to debate whether Seth is really a hero or just protecting his territory. Until next time, question motives, demand accountability.